What's a ham radio?
The Cadillac of ham radios.
Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of Ham Radio, a Stranger Things podcast. We've got a great episode for you today as usual, but first, we have a little housekeeping to take care of, and I'm going to turn it over to Jasmine to let you know where you can find us on social media and where you can listen to the podcast.
Thanks, Ashley. You can find us on Instagram at Ham Radio Media, all one word, on Twitter at HamThrough, on YouTube at Ham Radio Media, or using our handle HamRadio1983. We also have a Discord you can join, which is linked in the description of this episode. If you have a fan theory or question you want to share, you can email us at hamradiomedia@gmail.com. Ashley also has a fanfic on AO3 entitled Stranger Things College, which is also linked in the description. The podcast is available on all major podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and much more. If you like the show, please consider leaving us a rating or review. We have a lot of totally tubular stuff coming up, so be sure to follow us on social media to keep up with the podcast and all of our new content.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ham Radio, a Stranger Things podcast. Today I will be talking about a prevalent piece of symbolism that has been in Stranger Things since season 1 and looks to be a key part of season 5. So what is that piece of symbolism, you may ask? The rabbit, of course, everyone's favorite, the rabbit, and this is actually going to be part 1 of part 2, because in part 2, I will be talking about another big piece of symbolism that has been within Stranger Things, especially in season 4, and I believe in season 5 as well, and that will be the rainbow, but that will be next week. But today, I will be talking about all things rabbits today, and what they can tell us about Stranger Things, and why why the rabbit is such a big part of the mythos and lore of the show. Before I do that, I would again like to extend my thanks on behalf of Ham Radio Media to our recent guests that we've had on for the past couple of weeks. Aaron from the Lore of the Rings podcast, and then Haley from Haley's Funko Space Instagram account. They were both very good to chat with, and I hope you will go back and listen to those episodes that I did with them if you haven't already, or if you have, re-listen to it, share it to someone, a friend, a foe, a family member, whoever, and let them know about it, and let them know about all our episodes. But again, thank you again, Aaron, Haley, if you're listening to this, thank you again for hopping onto the show with me to talk about the Lord of the Rings and then Funko Pops. Again, had a good time with both of them in our respective episodes. So again, make sure you give those a listen. All right, so let's talk about rabbits themselves first, shall we? So just to give you some basic facts about the rabbit species, there are over 30 species of rabbits. The family that they are in is called the Leporidae. I know I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Alongside hares, Jare. A habitat, grasslands, meadows, forests, deserts, and wetlands. Diets. They eat meat, obviously. No, I'm kidding. They're herbivores. They eat grass, leafy weeds, vegetables, bark, things like that. As far as diet and digestion are concerned, rabbits are hindgut fermenters, meaning that they digest food in the large intestine and cecum. They eat their own soft droppings called cecotropes to redigest nutrients. Traits: they have long ears for detecting predators, strong hind legs for hopping and kicking, and excellent vision. Domesticated rabbits can be kept as pets and bred for meat, fur, or show. And then common breeds of domesticated rabbits include the Netherland dwarf, the Holland lop, and Flemish giant. They require a lot of space, a proper diet, mostly hay, and regular social interaction. Differences between wild and domestic rabbits. Wild rabbits dig complex burrows, also known as warrens, and are more skittish, which makes sense. Domestic rabbits can be litter trained and enjoy indoor living, which is true. You can litter box train a rabbit. I had a great uncle one time who he had rabbits that were litter box trained like the cats. So that is true. The most adorable thing you'll ever see, too, by the way. Like cats, when cats do it, and I love my cat, but when he's taking a poo in the litter box, but I don't know, the bunnies, seeing a bunny get into a litter box, I mean, come on. Okay, so, what do they symbolize? So, in doing my research, I mean, it became pretty clear you're going to hear a lot of similar things that they symbolize here, and I'm going to only be talking about the big ones. I mean, there's actually so much that rabbits symbolize, but I'm only going to be talking about a few of those, like the bigger ones here. But according to whatismyspiritanimal.com, the rabbit archetype is anything but a fuzzy bunny, lightweight in the world of animal symbolism. In many myths and legends, rabbits act as guides between heaven, the earth, and the underworld. They're a potent emblem of shamanic journeys and may even be called up to monitor those rituals. In fact, when viewing the rabbit's physical attributes, the creature represents a prayerful life as it puts its paws in a prayer position each time they wash their faces. In the earth plane, the rabbit is a sound navigator, having perceptions that pilot him through the darkness. Because of this, the rabbit represents sensitives and seers and their psychic powers. It also reflects on those moments when we must hop into unfamiliar surroundings using our inner light for direction. Will? Max? Yeah. Rabbits are creatures of the earth, living close to the ground where they can easily hide. The meaning here can be twofold. Either you need camouflage, or you've become under-recognized among peers. Beyond this, turn your attention to communing with the earth element and getting grounded. Rabbits are tricksters because they know their enemy and remain aware of their adversaries' movements to outwit them. When chased, rabbits are not predictable in their movements. There are no straight lines. Rather, they zip and zag, which aids in an escape. If their erratic movement doesn't work, the rabbit, or hare, like a skilled shapeshifter, disappears as it blends into the environment via camouflage. Otherwise, the rabbit slips into a small hideaway for a tidy retreat. So this crafty critter has the additional symbolism of directional awareness, cleverness, planning, and keen senses. Rabbit spiritual meaning is often associated with lunar energy. From Celtic traditions to the lore of African cultures, the man in the moon is a rabbit. So the attributes and energy of the moon are similar to that of the rabbit spirit. So, in reading that, I instantly think of Will and how he was able to hide from the Demogorgon in season 1. Now, I know we did not get to see that take place on screen, but I believe that we are going to see a good bit of that in season 5, just told through flashbacks. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that stuck out to me there is the rabbit slipping into a small hideaway for a tidy retreat. I mean, that's what they do, and I think that's absolutely what Will did. He, even though we did not see him in the Upside Down actually doing these things in season 1, we do know that he eventually found his way to Castle Byers in the Upside Down, and he hid there, kept him safe. I mean, he also stayed in a long time in the Byers house in the Upside Down. So, Will, definitely a rabbit in season 1, and also, what Hopper says, what Joyce says to Hopper in season 1 is that Will is good at hiding. So there you go. Some more symbolism. This is from AmericanTarantulaandAnimals.com. Rabbits symbolize sensitivity. Rabbits are sensitive animals, and consistent with a study from the American Journal of physiology, they can process up to 20 times the sense humans have. Additionally, their big ears are designed to pick up various sounds, especially from predators. Moreover, they have clear visions, and their round eyes can see all the directions in one look. Because of these features, rabbits are considered symbols of sensitivity. In real life, this animal is encouraging you to not be too desensitized. Instead, it reminds you to live culturally and use your senses well. If you are sensitive, use this behavior to show empathy to others, especially to the lost. Help others become connected in this world full of disconnection. Rabbits also symbolize gentleness. Aside from being sensitive, bunnies are also gentle. They remind you to handle your life and other people around you with care and compassion. They try to tell you to help others fight their battles. At the same time, rabbits also encourage you to be gentle with yourself. If there are days when you feel discouraged and you start to hate yourself for this, seek help from others to avoid self-harm. Yeah, that's number one. That's really good advice. But number two, I think of 11 here, especially 11 in season 1. Now, I like 11. I love 11. She's my favorite character. But, definitely, as the show has progressed, and she as a person has progressed, other than I'd say maybe like in season 4, but definitely in seasons 2 and 3, we do kind of see her not being that, big doe-eyed, gentle rabbit-like figure as she was in season 1. But nevertheless, I still think that she's a very gentle character, and I think she still possesses those qualities. And then the rabbits symbolize fertility. I think that one's a very self-explanatory. They love to have babies. The rabbits do. And they also symbolize haste. This is a big one. In the movie Alice in Wonderland, when Alice crossed paths with the rabbit, the latter reclaims that he's late. I'm late. Eventually, the rabbit sprinted as fast as he could to enter the hole he was trying to get to. This behavior of the rabbit signifies haste. It also represents quick thinking to resolve issues fast but in an accurate way. However, keep in mind that haste can be negative too. In the story of the tortoise and the hare, the former's haste abilities made him lose the game. This means that being too confident with your skills without being cautious can drag you down. So always be careful because your haste can go to waste when you do not use it accordingly. Now this makes me think, maybe of Mike and of Nancy. Mike, it's been on throughout the show. Throughout the entirety of the show, he's always late. He's never on time to anything. And we see in episode 1 of season 4 that he is late for school. He's not even dressed yet. And Nancy comes in, hitting the wristband watch, 30 after, and, I'm late. And again, very interesting, these two with their rabbits and their haste. Just very, very interesting in the show there. And then rabbits also represent or symbolize new beginnings. During springtime, the earth is renewed, meaning that it is full of life. According to a study from Italy, this period is also the breeding period for rabbits. Thus, they become associated with new beginnings or rebirth. In life, if you feel that you do not know where to start, always remember that just like bunnies, there will always be a new day to begin again. Again, another very interesting thing. Season 4 set in spring in 1986, and in the Krill flashbacks, the massacre of the Krill family happened in the spring of 1986, I believe, in March. So, 27 years prior to when, Henry / Vecna /1, came and started doing again the same things in 1986. And we see rabbits in some of those flashback sequences as well. But it's, all this symbolism, spring. But I do think, what I read there at the end, there will always be a new day to begin again. I think is at a core part of the messaging of Stranger Things, the message that it wants to send. And then we have some religious symbolism. Now, I'm only going to be talking about the Christian belief system and the Native American system because I believe those are kind of the two more prevalent that have been like on the show Stranger Things. But you can go to whatismyspiritanimal.com and get all of the religious symbols that the rabbit symbolize. It's a very fascinating read. But in the Christian belief system, the association with the rabbit is more secular as a symbol that came to be associated with Easter. This is not a direct result of the observations of Jesus Christ, but of the later changes and morphing that occurred between pagan and Christian cultures. To some, the connection between Jesus and the rabbit can stem from the rabbit living underground, similar to Jesus' time spent in an underground tomb. They are associated with rebirth and fertility, an allusion to Christ. Some accounts of early Christian cults describe a connection between the rabbit and the Virgin Mary as well. In reading the New Testament, there are no rabbits. In the Old Testament, the rabbit is incorrectly labeled as a ruminant and considered unclean, though in more recent factions of Christianity, the rabbit significance shifts to positive attributes like purity, innocence, and gentleness, and is therefore associated with Christ or being Christ-like. Meanwhile, Native American rabbit symbolic meanings portray the rabbit as an ingenious and often humorous trickster. Known as Manabazo or Great Hare, this character shows up in many legends, sometimes with the additional symbolism of a hero. Some stories relate that the Great Hare created the world, brought humans fire, and even taught shamans how to enact sacred rites. The hare spirit is a good animal ally when learning ritual forms. An additional association with the rabbit is that of a fear caller. Lore suggests when a rabbit fears something, it calls out to that thing until noticed. In nature, the rabbit lives in fear. Here, the Native American lesson is that calling or focusing on whatever frightens you can foster attracting that very thing in your life. The Algonquin tribes had a hero named Nana Bazo, who named all the plants and animals of creation. His duty was to be a practical teacher and a spiritual mentor. He could shapeshift into the form of a rabbit. There is also a rabbit deity, Mikabo. Mikabo created the world and could create life when he wished. He gave life to dead rabbits, leading many Algonquins to claim the rabbit as an ancestor spirit. Moving to the southwest, the rabbit, also known as the desert hare, embodied fertility, predicted rainfall, and attracted prosperity. Again, many stories show this rabbit as a rogue, with a pocket full of tricks. None had harmful intent. The most prominent of these was Kokopelli, a flute-playing rabbit. Kokopelli appears in rituals, dances, and many folktales. Kokopelli can bring fertilizing rain and guide brave hunters. Native American tribes with rabbit clans include the Shawnee and the Hopi. So, some rabbit colors and their meanings. According to whatismyspiritanimal.com, the white rabbit is supposed to be the most fortunate. They are an omen of having great choices ahead. Any of them can boost your inner power, sense of love, and overall compassion. In Europe, saying white rabbit or rabbit rabbit on the first day of a new month brings blessings. But you must be diligent and put forth honest effort for things to move ahead successfully. Dreaming of a white rabbit usually has some tie to your love life. White indicates you are in a happy, peaceful space. Your spiritual connection continues to grow without one overshadowing another. Also, just as it appears out of a hat, the white rabbit portends a pleasant surprise. Meanwhile, the black rabbit signifies a state of stress, anxiety, fear, depression, and feeling as if you are stuck with no way out. You must determine the source of these feelings and figure out a resolution. It is right in front of you. You've been overthinking. Because the black rabbit can represent stillness, perhaps you must still your mind in meditation for that aha moment. Alternatively, perhaps you have swallowed your words for too long. Let them out. Dreaming of a black rabbit speaks about your fear of being intimate. The reason may vary, but for most, it's a feeling of not being good enough. It's time to reassess yourself and see the beauty within. Gray rabbits represent uncertainties and things that hide between the proverbial lines. In a dream, it reveals someone close to you as being dishonest and manipulative. Before making a decision, make sure it's your decision and not a contrived one. Brown is the color of rich soil. When you plant the right seeds, they begin to grow. Something big starts. So don't overlook the little things. If you follow the signs given to you by animal spirits and the teachers like the brown rabbit, you will discover something wondrous. In particular, your magical life expands along with your psychic talents. Now, it's very interesting with these colors of the rabbits because the white rabbit and the brown rabbit, although I suppose a mixture of gray and brown, depending on how you look at it, have been the ones that have come up the most in Stranger Things. Now, I know that we've never seen a white rabbit on screen, but as I'll talk a little bit about later in this episode, we have seen references, displayed in the set design with the white rabbit and in the show. And whereas with the brown rabbit, we have seen brown rabbits on screen. And they've been being murdered. I think, what the article says about the brown rabbit. Well, let's just say I feel like, based on that, I feel like this is so geared towards maybe Nancy, Jonathan, Steve, but definitely Nancy and Jonathan who do tend to overlook the little things. If you hadn't noticed, especially Nancy, she loves to get right there at the heart of the story, but sometimes she can't always see the forest for the trees. She just overlooks the little things. And so a big work that the rabbit, specifically the white rabbit, has been in, which is also a big influence and inspiration for Stranger Things, is Alice in Wonderland, the Alice in Wonderland rabbit. So most of you are aware of Alice in Wonderland and the rabbit that's in there. The author of that book, Lewis Carroll, carefully wove the story of Alice's adventures in Wonderland in 1865. The rabbit is the first character Alice meets. She followed it down the hole into Wonderland. The rabbit always seems to be in a hurry and nervous, which is curious since he was a herald of the Queen of Hearts' court. Whenever the rabbit appears in the story, you know something is about to happen. Throughout the book, the rabbit is continuously late. Nonetheless, he finds himself in the middle of fanciful and curious circumstances. He acts as a foreshadowing without giving anything away. The white rabbit unwittingly becomes Alice's guide. There are moments when life presents you with something outlandish and mystifying. You may wish to follow Alice's example and embrace the moment. See where the rabbit hole takes you. Now, as it relates to Stranger Things, and we're talking about rabbits here, and specifically to this, the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, Will is the first one we see in this instance. We see him basically go down the rabbit hole. He gets taken to another world, the Upside Down. But then, we also see Eleven. We're first introduced to her in the pilot episode, and the song White Rabbit is playing in one of those scenes. And, I think as it relates to Eleven and her being paralleled here with Alice in Wonderland, I think of at the end of the pilot episode when Mike, Dustin, and Lucas come upon Eleven in the woods. It's pouring rain. I think this is for Mike. This was something outlandish and mystifying, and maybe he did go down a rabbit hole himself with Eleven. Because rabbit holes, they symbolize like distraction, and he got distracted initially from the mission, which was to go find Will. He got distracted by Eleven. Now, the good thing is that they did find, or they stumbled upon Eleven, because she did lead them to Will and eventually was able to, get him out. But, yeah, and I'm not saying, like, I think that Mike and Eleven's relationship is all a load of BS. I don't. I think that, I think they generally do care about each other and do love each other. I mean, I know Mike hasn't said it, but I do think he loves her. He's just has a hard time saying it, is all. And I would hate for 11 to end up being his rabbit hole and something go bad. Like that's one of my biggest fears going into season 5, especially with Mike and 11. So, I talked about a little bit about dead rabbits, a little bit. So, what does it mean when you see a dead rabbit? So, coming across a dead creature is always disconcerting, but it can be a message to you from the spiritual world. Most obviously, seeing a dead rabbit acts as a reminder that life is short. You should always be present and appreciate every moment. Finding a dead rabbit speaks of transformation. You must leave the past behind and become ready for the next adventure. If your discovery was in the oddest of places, you've strayed somehow and need to return to the well-trodden path in order to initiate change. A dead rabbit can reflect your own fears of mortality, or any fear really. No earthly representative of animal spirits can live forever. It is simply life's circle coming around again. Put your past life, past negativity, and past insecurity behind you. Start something wholly unexpected. Wonders await. If someone you know died recently, the dead rabbit might be a way of telling you everything's fine. Treasure your memories, but move on. When you take positive steps forward, the universe applauds the progress. Have you been overly pessimistic as of late? The dead rabbit advises you to turn your frown upward. Try seeing the brighter side of life. When you do, you'll see many details that otherwise deluded you. Now's the time to get your answers. When you see a dead rabbit, pause and think about those things to which you give your time and energy. Did they add value? If not, it's time to reconsider your priorities. Sometimes a dead rabbit implies you've let creativity stall out. Find something that inspires you. No one expects perfection overnight. Work on the very human flaws you have when it comes to originality and innovation. Take a pilgrimage inward and turn your perceived weaknesses into strengths. In your career, encountering a dead rabbit means you've missed some opportunities that would have helped you greatly. To avoid playing financial catch-up all the time, keep your eyes keen. Don't let your productivity drop or become complacent. Renew your sense of purpose. Something's gone wrong, and seeing a dead rabbit only confirms that reality. Figure out where the problems began. Ponder the key buttons that led to disruption. There is a way to fix things. Just don't be afraid to return to the drawing table if necessary. Dreaming of a sick rabbit employs you to pay more attention to self-care. Rabbits are prone to all manners of sickness and can become ill without warning. Pay attention to your health, that includes mental. Start making steps that support well-being. So in that, I think of Nancy in season 4 when Vecna, gives her his flashbacks and she sees him as a young child killing the rabbit. I mean, I know at that moment he was just showing her things that had happened in his past, but I think maybe from the show's perspective, from the writer's perspective there, maybe that was, to let Nancy and the audience, maybe, as a foreshadowing thing of, what's to come in Hawkins. Maybe not for Nancy specifically, but, what's to come. But also, I think of what the article says about a dead rabbit can reflect your own fears of morality or any fear. And we have to go back, like we've been doing our script breakdown series. And in Chapter 7, The Massacre at Hawkins Lab, when the episode in which this all transpires, what happens before Vecna completely takes Nancy in? He pulls her down into Steve's pool in the Upside Down and gives her a glimpse of dead Barb, who we've kind of been made to feel since, season 3 and throughout season 4, like, that's the thing of Nancy's past. But clearly, Nancy still very much thinks of Barb and still lives with the guilt. And so I think this is reflecting Nancy's, this rabbit, also extended reflection of Nancy's fears, maybe of mortality, but maybe her fears of what happened in the past and not being able to let go and move on. So rabbits, as seen in Stranger Things, so we're finally getting to it. So in season 1, in our first ever encounter with 11, the song White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplanes is playing in the background, and when she's in Benny's Diner or Benny's Burgers, the lyrics play it, and if you go chasing rabbits and you're going to fall. Now this, in terms of season 1 context, could have been like basically telling Brenner, because this needle drop happens when Brenner and his squad are coming to get her, but she's already, left. I mean, well, she kills some of the squad and then she leaves. This could be like, laughing at Brenner and like, yeah, look what's going to happen to you if you keep chasing rabbits, But it's also been talked about how this song is about drugs in the 60s, and particularly psychedelic drugs, which were heavily used in MK Ultra experiments, which is what 11 came, spawned from. And then while visiting the room intended for 11 at her mother's house, the white rabbit from Alice in Wonderland is prominently displayed, according to an article on the vigilanttcitizen.com, which, side note, this article, I'll link it in the show description for this episode. You need to read this article. It is fantastic. It's actually from 2016, like right after season 1 dropped, so the writer doesn't know at that time what's going to happen in the show. But it's a fantastic article. Highly recommend you read it. It has a lot on there, especially about MK Ultra and government stuff, and the government side of the show. Again, I'll link that for you so you can read it. But again, it's an incredible piece. But anyway, according to the article, on thevigilanttcitizen.com, it is an important symbol in the world of mind control. The same way the white rabbit lures Alice into the looking glass, MK handlers lure slaves to the dark side of mind control. So again, go read that article and you will know and learn what an MK handler was and what the writer means there by slaves. And then in episode 5, The Flea and the Acrobat, Jonathan reveals to Nancy that his dad had took him hunting once and told him to shoot a rabbit, but he couldn't do it. Then in season 4, Alice Creel, her name is also Alice, okay, sees dead rabbits in the front lawn of the Creel house, which we later learn was her brother, Henry, killing them using his newly found powers and leaving them in the yard to scare her. Vecna shows us this flashback to Nancy in Chapter 7, The Massacre at Hawkins' Lab. Then, I guess this isn't a direct thing, but it's something I definitely picked up on, that in Chapter 6, The Dive, when Dustin is hopping up and down, he's excited to go into Mordor. He kind of hops up and down in that scene at Skull Rock, kind of like that resembles a bunny hop. And then towards the end of Chapter 9, The Piggyback, Nancy picks up a stuffed rabbit toy, Mr. Rabbit, out of a donation box, and when asked if she wants to keep him, she says no, that he'll be better off in another home. And it's just very interesting that Nancy has 2 direct encounters with rabbits in season 4, and like I mentioned earlier, in episode 1 of season 4 has her on I'm late moment. And then, for season 5, sometime last year, in 2024, during filming, Ross Duffer posted on his Instagram a picture in which we've come to the conclusion of the Creel house. It was behind the scenes photo. In the Creel house, there was a picture hanging on the wall featuring the Mad Hatter's Tea Party from Alice in Wonderland with the White Rabbit in the picture. So definitely we're going back into Wonderland in season 5. And, I'll leave you with this, as I wrap up the Stranger Things portion. Hopper. Did you ever think about the name Hopper? Rabbits, Hopper, Hopper. Do with that what you will. So, as we've explored in this episode, The rabbit is far more than just a cute woodland creature or a seasonal Easter icon. Across cultures and spiritual traditions, the rabbit holds deep symbolic weight, representing everything from sensitivity, cleverness, and fertility to spiritual rebirth, shamanic journeying, and the courage to face the unknown. Whether it's the trickster tales of Native American lore, the haunting rabbit imagery in Stranger Things, or the eternal white rabbit of Alice in Wonderland, this animal spirit invites us to stay alert, grounded, and open to transformation. So the next time you see a rabbit, real or symbolic, take a moment to reflect. It just might be guiding you to your next big leap. And I think Stranger Things in itself maybe is its own self an animal spirit that invites us to stay alert, grounded, and open to transformation. Because that's life. It's going to happen. So thank you for listening to part 1 of The Rabbit. And like I said earlier at the beginning of today's episode, I'll be back next week with part 2, where I'll dive into the vibrant and magical world of rainbows. Yes, I know, it's been a long time coming. We haven't really talked as much on this podcast, about the rainbows in this show. Well, that's going to change next week, because that's what I'm going to be talking about. So, yeah, you won't want to miss it. So, until then, take care.
And that's our show. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe and tell your friends. Our theme music is provided by Neon Knights. Thank you for listening to this episode of Ham Radio, a Stranger Things podcast. Please join us next time, same dial, same time.
Over and out.